Everybody's doing well. I have here with me Jim Zenner, co-chair. So we run the group together. We work together. We have William Wilson as well, and Amy Bravo, of course, the LAVC director that we work with on collaborating on agenda. So I will share my agenda, our agenda. Sorry, just give me a second. If I can find the agenda. There it is. Okay. So typically
that's the way I would start a meeting as well, Tess. Okay.
Right. It's always an adventure toggling back and forth between teams and all of this different technology. Here we go. So you notice on the agenda up in the left-hand side, you have the working group chair contact list. So we have about 15 working groups. So you'll find the name of the contact person as well as their information. If you want to get any information, they're subject matter experts about the working groups that they run. So very, very good contacts, and feel free to refer people to those contacts as well. We also have our A&E member contact list. So if you are new to the meeting, please go ahead and click on over there. And actually, let me just put this in the chat. Click on over there and enter your information. Okay. You'll note the upcoming events and dates. Lots and lots of great things going on in the community. We do still have the learning community for the collaborative. So the link is there. Go on, search for the LAVC learning community, and you'll find a message board with a lot of these events listed on there. So if you need more information about these events, you can find it there. We have a range of different things going on. Women Veterans MST luncheon on Monday. There's a career fair, wellness day coming up. They've been wonderful so far. So that one looks incredible. March 19th, Vietnam Veterans Celebration for the city of Palmdale. There's a Women Veterans Brunch coming up on Sunday, the 20th. Golf tournament fundraiser, virtual Veterans Benefits Administration Vietnam Veterans Celebration. So this is a national celebration. Deported veteran exhibit, and then for cultural experience, there is the Shumash powwow going on in Malibu coming up in April. So, and there's likely much more. And if you have something, go ahead and head on over to the LAVC learning community. There we go. Add to this anything that you need to do. All right. Looks like we got a Viacom CBS networking hour. Also, please feel free to include your links on there as well. Anything, this is your agenda as much as it is anyone else's. So, all right. So again, welcome. Again, 15 different working groups. Collaborative's been around for many, many years now in different iterations, and it has survived and thrived, and now under the leadership of Amy Bravo, who's the director. For new participants, we go ahead in the meeting and we go around and introduce ourselves. So if you're new here, please go ahead. Now is your time to sound off, introduce yourself, and add your information to the contact list. Anyone new?
Yes, I'm new. I'm Matt Hefner. I'm with VOA LA's SSVF program out of Orange County, but obviously we connect people to resources and services in LA County all the time. I'm the healthcare navigator for VOA LA's SSVF.
Awesome. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Good morning. I'm not exactly new, but I haven't been here in a while, and I'm not a regular. My name is DC Elliott, and I'm the Veteran Program Support Specialist for the state of California's Jobs for Veterans State Grant for LA Coastal Workforce Services Division. Basically, we provide employment services to veterans.
Wonderful. And you probably know already, but feel free to check out the working group. So the employment working group. And you'll find that contact information up on the left-hand side again, the working group chairs. And the link will be the same. So after the main body meeting, you'll be able to go into that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else?
Yes.
Hello. Hi, my name is Jeff, and I am the program manager with VOALA Safe Haven Avalon, and we are a transitional facility assisting veterans to permanent housing.
Great. All right.
My name is Susan Bowling, and I'm a recovery advocate. I help people that are facing criminal charges in the criminal justice system go into treatment. And I am currently consulting with a new organization, Lionheart Recovery, a wonderful detox residential program that is focused solely on veterans. They're currently in Las Vegas, and they're opening up in Southern California. And so that's my introduction. Nice to meet all of you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. And then also, I'm not sure if you've been in contact yet, but we do have a working group, a legal working group.
Oh, great.
And so Jody Galvin is just a tremendous advocate for the community, for criminally involved veterans.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. All right. Anyone else?
Yes, good morning. My name's Jacqueline James, and Dedisi Elliott, that was just on. Good morning, Dedisi, is my colleague. I'm with the Employment Development Department's Jobs for Veterans State Grant Program. I am the DVOP, or the Disabled Veteran Outreach Program representative, located in West Los Angeles, Culver City. We cover that area, working with veterans and our partners to get them either employed, ultimately employed, but to remove whatever barriers they may have if they need additional training, housing, utility assistance, just a variety of services. And so I'm glad to be here. We need your our partner support. I haven't been here in a long time, so it's good to be back and hopefully make some good connections. And good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name's Brandy. Actually, I am the daughter of a Vietnam veteran. He rides with the Vietnam Veterans, Legacy Veterans Motorcycle Club, and one of their members who, I guess, is involved with you guys, Adam, recommended that I come and join your collaborative because one of my hotspot issues is the fact that descendants of veterans who've been exposed to Agent Orange are finding that descendants are having a lot of health issues due to genetic mutations. And currently the VA itself is only recognizing spina bifida for descendants of male veterans. And so Adam had recommended that I join your group to try to, because I have done research into this subject, and to see if we can't try to find some help for descendants going forward.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here. And thank you so much for joining, and hope that you are doing well. And thanks for your advocacy on behalf of other family members.
Thank you.
And good morning. My name is Daniel Triplett. I'm a new staff attorney with the Public Counsel Center for Veterans Advancement. I used to work veterans law before, helping veterans with VA benefits, mostly in discharge upgrades. That's what I'm doing again with CVA. And I'm a disabled OEF vet myself, so I'm happy to work with the community again. Nice to meet you all.
Great. Thank you for being here.
And this is Jody Galvin. Daniel's going to be our speaker at our meeting today at Legal. So thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
All right, incredible. Well, thank you to everybody for joining us. And again, don't forget to put your information in the documents. And I'll go back to sharing my screen. This time I can actually find it. And Jim Zenner will take us into the next portion, talking about our mission.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see all the new faces and all the faces that are here regularly. I'm Jen Zenner with the Department of Mental Health. I oversee the Veteran Peer Access Network, Army veteran myself. So the mission of this group is really, for the longest time, we've been looking at access and engagement as a place for people who navigate the systems out in the community to come together and talk about what works, what doesn't work, and where the gaps are. And initially, we started off with just services, but we've also included policy because we know policy and legislation sometimes keeps veterans and their families out of getting services because of criteria and eligibility attached to the funding. So luckily enough, we've been able to also bring Richard Valdez, who's got a lot of experience on the legislation and into this group to participate on that end. But you know, I won't read what it says on the agenda, but you know, that's what we've been at. We also have some of our working group co-chairs that run our working groups in here as well. And really what it is a problem solving type of group, because as we're bringing up these gaps or pain points in the system, we got our experts that run the working groups listening and taking that back to their groups and helping solve the problems that come up as we're talking. So that's a bit about the mission, and hand it over to William for announcements.
Hi, everybody. You're probably familiar, well, those of you on the call are familiar with the Intel briefs that we put out the week following these meetings every month. One's for peers and one's for influencers. Going forward, we're going to be reaching out, probably me, possibly Christine Papazian, to some of you just to verify the information that we heard on this call to ensure that it's accurate. So if you do get an email from one of us, please do respond as soon as you're able, because we are on the clock to put out that product within less than a week. Secondly, I have a survey on the Transition Assistance Program that I have compiled. It's for a graduate program at Pepperdine, but it could have an afterlife depending on what we think is the right path going forward with that. It's collecting data on the efficacy, the effectiveness of the transition assistance programs that veterans go through as they're leaving the service and transitioning to civilian life. So it'll be on a Survey Monkey, and we're going to send that link out. If you could look for it in the LAVC weekly newsletter next week and complete it, really appreciate it. It's just 10 questions, should take you like 10 minutes. And then also for the VPAN program managers at the individual SD level, if you could look for that for me as well and have it administered by your peers in the field to veteran clients who come in for services, that would be great. As much data as we could possibly collect to gather a better sight picture of what's working and what's not working with respect to our transition assistance programs. And this survey, we're just going to have it administered through the end of the month. So it's just 3 more weeks of data. That'll give us something to go on for the study. And it would be really appreciated, because this is, again, something that may have a life after this study in terms of how we shape our programs and our assistance for veterans who come through TAP and maybe it did or did not work for them that well. So thank you again. Look for that from, again, on the LAVC weekly newsletter, or for those of you who are program managers with VPAN, that'll be coming from me directly. Thanks, Jim.
Great. I also wanted to add too, and I added this to the announcements, there is a survey that's evaluating the efficacy of the Unite Us platform, which is the provider platform that the Veteran Peer Access Network is coupled with. So you have boots on the ground, veterans stationed around the county in the 5 districts through community-based organizations. And then you have this Unite Us platform. So if you've ever used Unite Us before, or even if you haven't, there is a link in the announcements where you can help rate the efficacy of Unite Us. Oops, sorry about that. Today is just full of exciting challenges with technology. All right, we'll go ahead and move into our standing reports. Our first one, hopefully Janet Turner with Congressman Ted Lieu's office is with us today. Janet, are you here?
I am here. Good morning, everyone. I don't have anything specific to report today, although I do understand that there is a lot of fabulous legislation being talked about and in the works for veterans. So hopefully next month, maybe I'll have a little report on something that's come through. And I'm sure Richard Valdez will tell me if I'm wrong. Because he's really on top of all this. But we're always available to help veterans, especially if there's casework and getting your benefits.
Wonderful. Thank you, Janet. Next, we'll move into the local government updates. So Robert Alvarez, Special Assistant. Well, actually, I know he moved on up and I didn't change his title on here, but with the Office of Supervisor Catherine Barger. Robert, are you with us today? Okay. All righty. We'll move into our VSO legislative update with Richard Valdez. I think Richard joined us earlier. He may be having technology problems like I was. Richard, are you with us? Okay, we'll move into VPAN, the Veteran Peer Access Network. So we have Jim Zenner and Christina Garcia.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, just an update on my end. We are in the process of onboarding a psychologist to work with CVJP and the Department of Military Veteran Affairs, as they hopefully will be getting a grant soon to do some in-reach into the jails. So that's coming soon to all the VPAN staff that are on this line. That will be somebody that you can work with directly to do quick assessments and for the purposes of diversion and benefits establishment. So more to follow on that one. The other pieces, we're just really kind of getting laser focused. A lot of the effort has been lately on transitioning service members, as you heard from William about the survey. You know, the county is almost ready to move forward with the Skill Bridge program, to where we can receive transitioning service members into the various county departments to really get exposed to local government and hopefully get hired on full-time, long-term with county departments. And not just at entry-level positions. We're looking at, you know, we all know that our service members bring a lot of leadership skills, a lot of working under pressure, a lot of stuff that can really benefit the county. So we're very excited about that. And as we kind of move forward with that, we're looking into entering into an MOU with the Department of Labor VETS program out of DC to really get the 58 navigators that they have hired or in the process of hiring to do taps across 18 different military installations, to really look at Los Angeles as a place to go for our veterans or transitioning service members as they transition out, given the opportunity with LA County. So just a lot of focus on transitioning service members and, you know, very excited about bringing the psychologist on board to help kind of enhance what CVJP and the Department of Military Veteran Affairs and CalTAPS or CalVet is doing around our incarcerated veterans. So that's it on my end. I'll hand it over to Christina.
Thanks, Jim. Hi, Tess. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good old Army Day or Air Force or whatever your branch of service is. Just two things. One is staffing on the VPAN end. So we are looking for some battle buddies, one for VOA LA, one for Goodwill, and we're looking for a squad leader at the Iowa. So if you guys know of anyone who's interested in a position within VPAN, please let us know, send us a resume, and we'll get them hooked up over here. And then ETS. So all of us who have gotten out of the military, ETS, EAS to understand the challenges of becoming a productive citizen veteran in LA County. So if you know of anyone who would be a great sponsor, it could be a veteran, it could be a non-veteran family member, just, have them come be certified. We have upcoming training on the USS Iowa on the 23rd and the 24th of this month. I'll put the information in the chat. So come on down to the Iowa, meet the VPAN team down there, and get certified to become an ETS sponsor, as well as veteran cultural competency training. So let us know if you have any questions, and that's all on my end. Over to the VPAN teams, Tess.
Yeah, just real quick, sorry to jump in here. I forgot to mention the Vet to Peer program, US Vets and LMU. They have a in-person cohort starting up. I see Chris on the line today. Correct me if I say anything wrong, Chris. I forgot the dates. You mind just taking yourself off mute and kind of making that?
Yeah, the dates coming on it's going to be on campus. It's going to be March 26th coming up here. We are looking for roughly about 15 to 20 more bodies. They do need full vaccinations, so they need to have the booster as well. That's kind of a little issue that we're running into. So we're asking to see if everyone kind of spread the word a little bit for us to make sure we get this class as well, just like the other ones, fully packed. We want at least 30 to 35 individuals in each class, whether it's on campus or virtual. We also have a virtual class coming up as well, but we want to make sure we get this class as packed as possible.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Can you put your email address in the chat, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris, that's available to family members and veterans, correct?
Yeah, sorry, excuse me. So it's not just for veterans, it's for veterans as well as their we try to keep it as close to their family as possible.
Yeah.
But usually as long as they've seen some of the lived life experiences, we try to consider them as well. Meaning that they've gone through something, whether it's they've gone through something or they've seen someone go through something and overcome them, right? Whether it's addictions, homelessness, or depression, anxiety, and so on. So it's something for all individuals that have gone through some type of life experience.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so now we'll move into the VPAN rally point updates. And rally points are places where peers are accessible, and they're also information centers. So we'll go with SD1, which is JBS.
All right, Tess, thank you. So I did just put our updates into the chat, so you can just probably copy and paste it too. But so the biggest thing for us right here is housing and shelters 47, and income and support 86, benefits and navigation 62. I think those are kind of one of the same, but total clients served this past month was 195. And the biggest thing I want to pass is so today we just signed our contract for the recreational therapy event that we're going to have. It's going to be a golfing outing right there. So it's going to be a collaboration between SD1 and 5 and possibly SD4. So we want to make this a huge event as possible and it's going to for all the veterans and family members. So right now, again, so it's going to be at Whittier Narrows golf course, a county golf course. I want to try to cycle that money right back into the county that we're using for supportive services and everything else like that. So right now, the only thing the veteran's going to have to supply is their golf clubs. Everything else is going to be paid. There is a dress code there. I believe it's just a polo shirt. I don't know if you want to play anything else other than a polo shirt, but this is where, we're looking at, the possibility of bringing, SD4 in there as well, because if we do need to rent golf clubs, if veterans want to come out, and if we can find, and if anybody on this call knows where we can get golf clubs or we can rent golf clubs or whatever that looks like, please hit up Becky or myself. That way we can contact them and we can make this work. So we want to make this a great event. So just help us out if you know anything that can make this event, a great experience for veterans to come out to. The more the merrier. So again, the golf course is basically off the 60 and the 605 near South El Monte. So it's a nice golf course. I think they have like a total of like 3 different golf course areas. But yeah, so again, that contract has been signed, and we're gonna have chow there and everything, food. So yeah, and they have a vegetarian option, and they also have a regular meal. So yeah, they don't have, we asked for gluten-free also, but they don't have that. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. So if there's any questions, just hit us up, you know, on an individual basis. All right, that's all I have though. Appreciate it.
So Adam, I have a question.
Yes.
On the request for income support, can you identify, is it like rent, or is it emergencies, or just a little info?
It's income support. It's a variety of different things, and not mainly what that is, the income support. Sometimes it's mainly for benefits. Okay, so and it just depends on what the peer is gonna submit the case for, open the case on. So it really just depends on what the client is looking for. That's why sometimes I wish they would kind of lump them both together when we're talking about benefits and income support, because it's really one of the same. But that's a Unitas thing. Maybe in the next Unitas 3.0 maybe they can do that. We can talk about that.
All right, awesome. Thanks for the feedback on that, and congratulations on your upcoming event. And thanks for posting all your information in the chat. It makes it much easier. All right, we'll go with SD2, VOALA.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? So just to report on our numbers, we have 74 new clients as of last month, 162 services total. Our top 3 services tend to be benefits and navigation with 40, housing and shelter 25, individual and family support at 37. Our upcoming event that will be marketing shortly is going to be our veteran and family egg hunt. It's going to be on April 9th from 10 to 2. It will be located here in the city of Compton, where our rally point is located. We're going to be doing it at Wilson Park. It's going to be basically a large event that really focuses on bringing veterans and their families together. So there's going to be a lot of kids events. 102.3 KJLH is going to be helping with marketing of the event that day. Also, sharing about VPAN and what it is that we do countywide. At the same time, we'll also have various different events for the families. The hoop bus is going to be there. Also, there's Todd's Ponies. He provides therapy with using of his ponies. So definitely wanting to support him and the efforts that he does in the community. Just a variety of different activities. So we're really excited about it. Just another way of getting all of our veterans and their families together, especially bringing the kids together. So we're really excited. And then there's going to be some other events coming up that we'll be sharing with the collaborative as well. So look forward to those flyers and more information to come.
Thank you so much. SD3, Goodwill SoCal.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Calling with SD3 here. SD3 served 162 clients last month, and we added 62 clients on Unitas. The top 3 service types are individual and support at 85, benefits at 75, and housing and shelter at 30. Stephen, did you want to talk about the upcoming event?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a March Madness event at our rally point coming up on the 26th and 27th of March. So we're going to get the flyer out to everyone we can a little later today, but just the FYI. And we're waiting for the game time. So we do ask the RSVP, but once we get the game times, we'll put another flyer out with that information on there.
And also, we're short 2 staff. We have 1 on paternity leave, and we're hiring for 1.
Okay. All right, awesome. And can you post your report also in the chat for me as well? That would be helpful. And then we have SD4 USS Battleship Iowa.
Hey Tess, how you doing? This is Remy here. I'm gonna post our stuff in the chat right now. What we got here is housing and shelter at 75, income support at 48, mental behavioral health at 45, individual family support 42, benefits navigation 40, total clients served for the month of February 106. And for outreach, we established a bi-weekly event at Long Beach City College, and we are also working on getting office space at the Downey too, at one of their CMVA centers too there that they're building out for us. And
Awesome.
got it. And from there, I turn over to Brother Richard, our brother Chris, for any other updates.
Yeah, this is Rich Douglas with SD4, running a weekly AA meeting on the ship. It's averaging about 100 people. On April 8th, we're putting an event together that has a very solid foundation. There's a lot of help from Amy Bravo. It's be called Spring into Recovery. It's going to have 3 different areas on the ship, one where people will be speaking, one with vendors, and down in the galleys we'll have a basically like breakout workshops. You know, people like, you know, Shad's going to be doing a PTSD. We're going to have AA there, just, you know, different people. It's all about recovery. And that is it.
When is the date for that, the Spring into Recovery?
April 8th on the Battleship Iowa.
Okay. Thank you.
I already put it on the agenda, Tess.
Okay, good. SD5 JVS.
Good morning, everyone. So this is, my name is Jimmy Guevara. I am the program manager for Supervisor District number 5 up here in Antelope Valley, San Gabriel Valley, and a lot of other good, cool areas. With that being said, let me just start off by saying our top 3 needs up here for Supervisor District number 5. Benefits and navigation, which is at 86. Housing and shelters at 40. Employment cases 24, and total clients served 120. Across pretty much across all of the Supervisor District number 5. Also, we had a couple of things going on this past month that actually have been very successful. We launched our first breakfast, Sunday breakfast brunch with Post 43. So if any of the Post 43 members are out here, I want to say thank you all for allowing us to hold that space and being able to support the veteran community. And that's another thing we got going on. Definitely want to say, we're starting to work a couple more things. Like a good example, we have our Vietnam welcome home for this March 19, and that's the flyer should be already up on the on our website and everything, on the website for the UCLA side. Also, we're coming up on Saturday. This is going to be more around May 28th. We're going to be working with the Supervisor District 5 supervisors, and they're going to have an Arcadia ceremony, tribute to veterans in that part of the county. The other thing we have as well, we've been working on a lot of different working with the new partners as well. Like I said, I want to give a special thanks to Jim Zenner for setting up a meeting with one of our local groups out here, calling Vets for Veterans. They've been out here for a while. I just wanted to special shout out for that, and thank you for bringing a lot more of the community members together to be able to collaborate as a team versus just us being one or the other, right? The other thing as well, we also helped out LASA to do a homeless count as well. So I definitely want to say thank you to Mr. Louis Barayo on that one, because he led the charge on that. He's done it before a couple of years in the past with his previous role in MHA. And also, he also led him and Angela, one of our battle buddies, and him, we actually led our first, not first, but one of many free comedy nights out here with a partnership with the VFW 3000 Quartz Hill. So they were able to also do that. It was a free comedy event they had for the VFW, especially that Antelope Valley doesn't get that many events out here. So we were able to provide that for all the veterans and families as well across the board. It was free and it was open to everybody. Other than that, I think that pretty much covers everything else. Unless anybody had any questions, comments, concerns, or emotional outbursts, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. All right, I'll go back to my screen share so Jim can take over with homelessness and housing updates.
You said Jen, right, Tess?
Jim, sorry. You.
I'm doing homeless and housing updates. Okay.
That'd be great.
Or
Sorry.
is that Steve and Jen and?
Yeah, it's them, but you can lead
Oh,
the
okay.
charge on it.
So sorry, my fault. Yeah, so I'd like to introduce or bring Steve and Jen to talk about homelessness and housing updates.
Thank you, Jim, for that ringing endorsement. At our meeting today, we're going to be talking about initiatives at the local, state, and federal level. The advocates in all three areas are asking for us all to get involved and contact our elected officials with support. Locally, the big one is a new initiative to place on the ballot in LA City a bond initiative that would raise a significant amount of money for capital to produce permanent supportive housing, as well as services along with the production of that housing, linking the two elements that are most successful in ending chronic homelessness. So we'll be talking about that. There's also an opportunity locally for advocacy later this afternoon when the LA City Council will be making a decision about how to spend some of the COVID relief money on housing. And the memo to council describing what the staff is recommending calls out veterans as a qualifying population. Exciting things are also going on in Sacramento and DC, so please come to the Housing and Homelessness Working Group and hear how you can get involved.
Tremendous.
Good
Is Jen with
morning.
us?
Jen had to hop off. Good morning. Jen had to hop off, so she asked that I update folks for her. The only major update that she had was regarding the by name list work that's been happening that I had started, and she has done some amazing work and continuing it. So the automated by name list comes out next week, I believe. So she's been working really, really closely with the loss of data team and some of the VA partners to just keep our list, get it updated, make it automated. If any of you had been part of our BNL, we had started making efforts towards that. We put it on Teams to make it more accessible. We're still working on that piece just to make it more manageable and not have to do everything so in that manual kind of way. So she's been working really hard with the team to make that happen. So for those of you that do join on the veteran BNL meetings, look out next week for the updated list. So she'll be sharing out more info during her actual meetings. Just wanted to give folks the heads up that it's coming.
Great. And thank you so much. All right, going back. And Amanda Pertisati sent a message, and she won't be with us today, but as always asks people who are at risk of homelessness to check out stayhousedla.org if you need any kind of assistance. Unite Us, Anil, is also excused for this meeting. He should be back with us soon.
I'm here.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello, hello. I can jump over. I will share screen.
Okay.
Yep. Awesome. So I have 2 PowerPoints for us today. Let me know. I know in the past, sometimes it freezes and it doesn't show all the other slides. So please let me know if you don't see it. I can make it bigger. I know also last time that made it froze. So technical difficulties. I appreciate all of you being there with it. So I did 2 different PowerPoints this time in terms of SDs, really looking at each district. And this is for 2021, really looking at how the districts compare to each other and really support each other. So total clients for 2021, total cases. And you see DMH having a lot of different clients, but then going into smaller cases and then service requests going out from there. In terms of referrals, I think this is always important, especially using the using the Unitas platform and how we can continue to use it for our advantage. The number of organizations that we are sending to. So I encourage, we see right here, SD2 has sent it to 78 different organizations. SD4 has sent it out to 72 different organizations. If you are struggling in a specific area, or if you're looking for resources in specific areas, these two SDs have been sending a bunch of referrals to different organizations. Reach out. So I just want to give shout outs to the different SDs. And then in terms of top 5 needs for the year, I know everyone reports out, but I think it's always important to look at this. So when we see these are top 5 needs, we see that benefits navigation is just about the top for 4 out of the 6 with us, including DMH. We also see income support, employment, housing, and legal. So I just want to bring that to everybody's point of view to really look at and see. And then we have time to case closure. I think that's always important. We can't close cases right away. I'm not here to say we need to have that under a certain amount of time, but I think us really being aware and saying, hey, how can we move this forward? How can we move this along? And so SD2, SD3, 35 to 36 days to make sure that they close cases. So I'm going to stop share there and I'm going to share something else. New share. Boom. Can everybody see the second one? Just a couple head nods would be good. Okay. So February data, 282 clients across the Unitas platform, 981 service requests from the whole platform. So this is not just the SDs. This is not just VPAN. And this is LVC. And then we're also looking at 471 referrals. 20 organizations sent those referrals. And 86 organizations received referrals. So I think that's always important to think out again, who's sending those referrals? How can we really connect? What are they doing? In terms of top 10 referrals, what we look at who are the top referrals of last year, and then who is the top referral for February. We can see that the SD4 sent 61% of the referrals for this month. So big congrats to SD4 for sending a lot of the referrals for this month. And top 5 needs. I do want to bring this to everybody's attention. I think it's always, when I look at trends, I think this is important. Mental health jumped up to top 5 need compared to it was number 7 for last year overall. But for this month, mental health has gone up. And income support has gone up as well, and individual and family support. So these 3 have really shot up. Housing and shelter has gone down a little bit. Not saying that it's not important and not saying that it, but I think that also goes to say that we are addressing these challenges, and we're really working towards putting supportive services out there for housing and shelter. So I want us to really continue to push, and we'll see hopefully those trends continue to decrease. And then I have this in terms of over the last 6 months, how these top trends have been going. We can see benefits navigation continues to go up. From 6 months ago, it has changed 29%. Housing and shelter has gone up 8%. Employment has actually gone down from 6 months ago. Income support has gone up 61%. Individual and family support has gone up 44%. Mental health has gone up 86% from 6 months ago. And legal has gone up 18%. So those are just some numbers for us to look at and to really be able to navigate. If anyone needs support, wants to get more details, please feel free to reach out to me.
Tremendous. Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm not sure if the slides will be available, but they would be very useful. Does anyone have questions about any of this?
Yes. I see that some people ask, can you explain the difference between benefits and income support? So benefits navigation, benefits eligibility screening is the big one there, and ID documentation assistance. When we're looking at income support, that's pension and disability, so really getting into it, and one-time emergency assistance in terms of funding is what that's really looking at.
Awesome.
And any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil, would it be possible to get copies or links to those slides?
Absolutely. I know that Amy will also post them in the LAVC wrap up that goes out. So both those should be coming out in the newsletter as well.
Okay, I'll talk to Andy. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'll make sure to send it out to William. If you want to put your email in right now, I can send them to you personally as well.
Okay, great. And we also now have with us Richard Valdez, so the legislative update. So we'll go ahead and jump over to him. Richard, are you here?
Yeah, Tess, Richard just sent me a text and said that he lost audio. So he wanted me to let everybody know that the PACT Act passed the House and will now conference with the Senate, which is a major accomplishment. He's also pulled together a couple legislative goals for the members, and we'll get it to us before the next LABC meeting.
All right, wonderful. And there's also a 2021 Veterans Legislative Victories sheet. So I linked to that in the agenda/minutes. If you want to take a look at that, there's a full list of different legislation that was sent out by DAV.
Yeah, and also we were talking about using the collective impact of this group to tie in with what you were talking about, Steve, on initiatives like that to really put together our voice and have that voice be heard at the city and county and in other events. So that's something that Richard was also mentioning prior, as well as wanting to kind of organize so that we can use our collective voice in the advocacy for veterans.
Awesome. Yeah. And we have a lot of power here, powerful veterans, powerful organizations, and lots of support, government support. All right, let me go back to my share. So Jim.
I had a question, Tess, for Neil.
Go ahead. Uh-huh.
So my question is on the referrals, is there a way that we can track the data, Anil, for, I think, is that how you say his name? Anil? Is there a way that you can track the data for successful linkages for those referrals? Anil? So when we send out referrals, is there a way to track data in terms of as far as being successful linkages?
We may have lost him. So if you put the question, oh, here he is.
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that. So you're asking about the referrals and if there's a way that we can track those?
Track linkages, because we may send out referrals, but if they're not successful linkages, then how do you measure that? That's what
so that's definitely something that we are working with the Unitas team on in terms of looking at how long those referrals take to accept. And I will say generally those referrals have been picked up really quickly within less than a day. So when you ask specifically, can we track them? I will say those lost referrals is something that we are working towards.
So I'll give you an example. So I have a team member who shot out 57 referrals for one veteran for 3 cases. And so, I mean, that's kind of skews the data. We're sending out referrals. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, so how do you track what's a successful linkage? That's what I'm, can you get that data?
So for me personally, when we look at what is a successful referral, it would be that they picked them up and at some point that case was closed.
Right. Because here's what's happening for us. Like, we'll send out a referral and some of these organizations, they're not actually active on Unitas. And that's the trouble. Like, how do we get that data? So we can actually use that. And so someone can Unitas could ping those organizations so they can become more active and we can, the referrals can be more successful.
And Adam, you were
actual linkages.
For sure. You are speaking our language. So we've really not put it on Unitas, but we're really trying to work with Unitas to make sure all the organizations that are on there are really active, are seeing this, are picking them up. So again, I know you're asking me for tracking and how do we pick it up. I don't have the answer for you right now, in all transparency. And I'm not here to lie and make something up. So I will get back to you and say, hey, how do we do this? Or what can we do? I will meet with Christine Boston from Unitas and try to figure it out.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Hey, Arnell, this is Remy here. Just to piggyback on what Adam says, is there a way to track, like, for every SD district, is there a way to track, like, the cities where we're getting the most veterans, or numbers, or if a certain city has more benefits or income support or housing stuff, is there a way to track that per zip code or city on Unitas, or is that coming up? Or
so what we can do, I do have an answer for that one for sure, is looking at, if you pull your numbers for the 90 days, you can look at that by zip codes in terms of where those services or where those individuals are coming from. So that's your answer in terms of where the vets are coming from. In terms of where we are sending them for services, I think going by zip code, that is not in my platform, right? Like, I don't get to see that, but you as individuals get a.
And you're right. When we download, when we export that data, we can see what cities and what counties they're coming from and what state actually. So if we want to get offline, when we get offline, Remy, I can help you with sorting that data.
Got it, brother man. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam, for jumping in too.
Can I get 1 minute? This is Rich with SD4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just basically this is like, for thought, but one of the issues we're having with the event that we're putting on April 8th is we would like to get a lot of veterans there, like, from the different, veterans housing units and stuff like that, like, Long Beach. And if anybody has any access to people that might have the vans or the transportation available or something from the VA, because transportation is an issue for a lot of them. And I think it would be a good thing for them to come out to and, get out and see some of the resources out there. And that's it. Just if anybody has any thoughts, just email me or get with Amy. She's helped me with the program. Thank you.
Okay. And that all kind of fits into our sound off. So I know we don't have 20 minutes. We only got a couple minutes, but there have been some questions raised. Usually we talk about what's working, how are we doing, shouts out to people. Really appreciated the shouts out in the earlier reports, but also what's not working. What are some challenges? What are some things we'd like to see? So floor is open.
I just want to give a shout out to my SD1 team for all the hard work that they're doing. Appreciate it, and continue to keep doing an outstanding job, because they're out there, and I catch them all the time, and I just want to ensure that they're getting the self-care that they need. So appreciate that for striking when the iron is hot, especially with these veterans and family members out there in the field, doing the on-the-spot intakes. So that I appreciate that. So going the extra mile.
Yeah, hey, this is Remy here. I'd like to give a big shout out to our 3 new hires, Sister Audrey, Sister Jennifer, Sister Sabrina. Their power, their energy, their vibe has been tremendous on our VPN team, and much love to 3 of you.
I want to give a shout out to SD3. We're short staff. Our numbers are improving. All the battle buddies are out there working hard. Supervisors are working hard as well.
Stephen G, and also for Jimmy too. Jimmy has been Jimmy G over there in the SD close to us. He's been really working really well, and he's been helping us and connecting us with resources as well. So thanks for all the support, Jimmy, and all the teamwork.
I'll jump in with something that I've been getting from the community, which is mostly like CTRS and folks on the campus test, is transportation. To my understanding, VA will not provide transportation on campus unless if somebody has an appointment. And as we know, for our homeless veterans, they don't necessarily always have an appointment. So that's a serious gap that I think we need to mention here and put out in the forefront, because I heard Richard mention transportation.
Sorry about that. I was trying to correct my writing. If there's something wrong in the minutes and agenda, please always feel free to correct it. And sorry about that, Jennifer. All right, so transportation.
To Jess Mendoza, though, before we get off, since Jesse came, it's gotten our team working together, and along with that, Remy and Chris Ayling have been, really fantastic. It's finally like I feel like our VPen team's together and moving in a good direction, and it's a good thing. And I really think most of it goes to Jess. He's a great hire, and we're lucky to have him.
I'm sorry, what was the name again?
Jess Mendoza, our new PM.
Okay. For some reason, my computer's running slow, so it's messing up. All right. Do we have additional questions, comments, concerns? The next meeting is getting ready to start, so we actually will stay right here. And thank you so much for the corrections. This is a real joint effort in everything that we do in access and engagement, so appreciate you very much. All right.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
I'm so sorry. My name is Mal. I'm with Cerritos College. I just want to let everybody know that our campus is open. We just opened up this Monday. We are more than happy. We would love to welcome all of our outside partners to come and speak with our student veterans, our women warriors. I'm sorry, it's a little hectic over here right now. We have a bunch of Marines who don't know how to keep quiet. Yeah, our campus is open. If you'd like to reach out to me, please. I left my email inside the chat. I'd love to correspond. I'm still new to LA. I'm still trying to figure this out, but Amy, VPen have been amazing in helping support me and getting me acclimated to LA. It's a monster. It's not even a beast. It's a big, huge thing. Yeah, again, if you'd like to reach out to me, get on our campus, come meet with our students. I'd love to have you here. So thank you.
All right, wonderful. That looks like that concludes our Access and Engagement Working Group. Again, please don't go anywhere. Our main meeting will be starting shortly. We're going to give it a few minutes for everyone to take a small break, stretch, get your coffee, drink some water, and then come back here in the next few minutes. And then we're going to kick it off with our Women Veterans Working Group. Okay, welcome back to the main meeting. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to our Women Veterans Working Group, Krishna Flores and Rocio Palmero.
Greetings to all. Thank you so much for having us today and allowing us the privilege of sharing Women's History Month with you all today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Is that okay?
Yes. Floor is yours, Krishna.
Cool. All right, so everyone should see that. All right, and I'm almost gonna get started. Just gonna get some stuff around. There we go. And you guys see the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, it's beautiful.
All right, so March into Women's History Month, a commemoration set aside to honor women's contribution in American history, including in the US military. And on March 1987, President Ronald Reagan signed a proclamation dedicating March as Women's History Month. The proclamation read, "From earliest times, women have helped shape our nation. Women have fought for moral and social reform and have taken part in and led many great social and political movements of our land. Women have founded many of our philanthropic, cultural, educational, and charitable institutions. Women have served our nation with valor and distinction during wartime, nursing the wounded, piloting airplanes, performing vital jobs, and in defense plans. But prior to 1987, the first celebrated International Women's Day was March 8th in 1911. And then in 1978, the school district of Sonoma, California participated in Women's History Week, designed around the week of March 8th. And in February 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued a proclamation declaring the week of March 8th to be National Women's History Week. And he went on to say, his proclamation said, "Men and women have worked together to build this nation. Too often the women were unsung and sometimes their contribution went unnoticed. But the achievement, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose name we know so well." So by 1986, a year before Reagan signed his proclamation, 14 states had already declared March as Women's History Month. So from the battlefields of the American Revolutionary War to the deserts of Kuwait, women have been serving in military in one form or another for more than 200 years. They have had to overcome decades of obstacles to get to where they are today, serving in greater numbers and in combat roles and in leadership positions all around the world. Here is a look at the history of women in military and how their roles have changed over the years. Oh, hang on. Okay. Going back to 1775 Revolutionary War, although women were not always permitted to enlist in the US Armed Forces, many still found ways to serve their nation. As husbands, sons, brothers, fathers joined the Continental Army, so did wives, sisters, daughters, and mothers. They helped boost morale, mended clothes, tended to the wounds, foraged, cooked, cleaned, and also cleaned and maintained cannons. And they also found a way to fight for independence by disguising themselves as men, as Margaret Corbin did, as she fought next to her husband in the Battle of Fort Washington, where she carried on the fight after her husband was struck by enemy fire. Similarly, Deborah Sampson fought distinguished as a man for several years before her true sex was revealed. Other women, such as Linda Dara, also supported the war efforts by spying on behalf of the Patriots. Going on to the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, nearly 20,000 women lent their skills and efforts in everything from growing crops to feed Union troops to cooking in Army camps. Notably, it was during the Civil War that women began to serve as nurses on a much larger and more official scale. And approximately 3,000 women served as nurses for the Union Army during the war. With the high need of nurses, it allowed Clara Barton, Red Cross founder, to travel directly onto the battlefield to tend to the wounded soldiers. And alongside fellow trailblazer Dorothy Dix was appointed superintendent of the United States Army nurses for the Union Army, and is remembered for pursuing high standards of behavioral and training among her nurses, as well as providing ample opportunities for female nurses working in support of in the military. Historians estimate that about 1,000 women disguised themselves as men and fought on both sides of the Civil War. Going on into the 20th century, World War I changed everything for women in the military. 400 nurses at that time were in active duty. By June 1918, just over a year later, There were more than 3,000 American nurses deployed to British-operated hospitals in France, often working in hostile and gargantuous conditions near the front lines, caring for troops, civilians, and allies. Also, the first time women were allowed to openly serve in the US military. And due to the large number of American men being sent to war, the armed forces and the US Navy in particular needed stateside replacement for the roles that were left behind after finding a loophole in a naval act that would allow women to serve in non-commissioned officers and non-combat roles. The Navy enlisted its first Yometis, I don't think I'm saying that right. Around 12,000 women served in the rank of yeomen, mostly working clerical duties as well as telephone and radio operators. Moving on to World War II. And World War II created an unpredicted need for service members, and more than 60 million Americans stepped up to serve on the front lines. The majority of those being men. The US military was left with many non-combat roles that needed to be filled. So the women of the United States stepped up. And for the first time in history, all branches of the military enlisted women in their ranks. The Army formed the Women Army Auxiliary Corps, which later renamed to the Women's Army Corps, WACS. Then the Navy formed the Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service WAVES. The Marine Corps, the Marines enlisted women in Marine Corps Women's Reserve. And the Coast Guard had SPARS, which stood for the Coast Guard motto, Semper Paratus and Always Faithful. In total, nearly 350,000 American women served in uniform during World War II. These women took on non-combative roles in order to free up men for the fight. And they contributed to work clerical jobs as they did during World War I, but they also drove vehicles, repaired planes, worked in laboratories and in cryptology, served as radio and telephone operators, rigged parachutes, test flew planes, and trained their male counterparts in air combat tactics. Through these women and their perseverance, the dedication to serve throughout the wars, they have helped pave the way for women in military who would come after them. And I would like to share that just this year on March 8th, 2022, the trailblazing World War II 6888 unit was announced to receive the Congressional Gold Medal. This unit was a pioneering all African American Women Army Corps battalion to serve overseas in World War II, and of more than 850 women who cleared up a backlog of millions of pieces of mails that led to the decline in troop morale. Only 6 remain living today that will be recognized. Moving on to the Korean War, in 1948, 3 years after the end of World War II, President Harry S. Truman signed the Women's Armed Service Integration Act into law, officially allowing women to serve as full permanent members of all branches of the armed forces. However, this was not a guarantee of equal opportunity. The act actually restricted the number of women who could serve to only 2% of each branch, and also limited how many women could become officers. Additionally, female service members could be automatically discharged if they became pregnant and they were unable to command men or serve in combat positions. During the Korean War, there were 120,000 women on active duty. And at the time, Mobile Army Surgical Hospital MASH was vital to the war, and women also served on medevac aircrafts, hospital ships, and others served in military hospitals in various parts of the United States. Going on to Vietnam, the Vietnam War, approximately 11,000 women were stationed in Vietnam during the nearly 20-year war. 90% of them were nurses in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Notably, most volunteered to go. So during the Vietnam War, other female service members worked as traffic controllers, intelligence officers, clerks, and in 1967, President Lyndon B. Johnson opened promotion for women to general and flag ranks. And in 1972, women were allowed to command units that included men. The US involvement in the Vietnam War came to a close in 1973, and 2 years later, the Pentagon announced that pregnant women could remain in the military. I'm going to pause here to bring notice that women had been serving in roles meant for men and went against social norms, breaking through barriers, but were still branded as inferior, subordinate, a waste of resources, too weak to vote, and treated as second-class citizens. Evident in the first Supreme Court case argued by Ruth Gator Ginsburg, Frontiero versus Richardson, I had to mention RBG. She really changed the foundation and the equality, as far as equality for women and racial and women. And her first case in front of the Supreme Court was to defend and acquire, change the law to allow a eligible service woman to receive housing benefits as a service member in the 1970s. She was denied housing. She noticed that her peers were being paid more than her, and she learned that she was not entitled to the housing allowance that was given to her male counterparts. So it took a rectifying of the law in order for that woman's husband, that woman and her family to receive that housing allowance and additional pay. So moving forward, the participation of women in history has paved the way for all of us have come after to pursue the skies. There is no limit to what we can achieve. Okay, moving forward. All right. Oops. Yeah. Cool. The 80s, 90s, and today. In 1994, the United States government placed an official ban on women serving in combat roles. At the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, there were a lot of firsts for women in the military. The first women, oh, I forgot to say that was actually lifted. That was actually lifted in 2015, and we were allowed to support direct combatant roles. And that came with a lot of firsts. The first women to become a Navy fighter pilot, the first female four-star general, and the first female rescue swimmer in the Coast Guard. The first Silver Star awarded to a female soldier since World War II. The first woman and Native American to die in a combat zone, Lori Patsiwa. Today women comprise just over 15% of the military, and so September 11, over 350,000 women have deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq, and 166 women have been killed during combat operations, and more than 1,000 have been wounded. I also want to acknowledge the contributions of Vanessa Guillen and the Vanessa Guillen Act that was passed, which now also, there's always been an issue with gender and women existing in the male-dominated field. And it came with some forms of sexual harassment and assault. And in the military, it's a really big issue still today, unfortunately. But Vanessa Guillen's case helped mobilize generations of women that have struggled to deal with the betrayals of wanting to serve for your country, but being betrayed by your peers. So Vanessa Guillen was able to mobilize generations. And with that mobilization and advocacy, there have been changes to the Uniform Code Military Justice, and sexual harassment is now going to be something that service members can be charged for. And it's also the leading cause, according to a RAND report, of sexual harassment leads to sexual assault. So that is the impact that women have had in contributed to our history. Now that concludes my portion of the background and our contributions. I'm going to hand off the podium to my peer, Rocio Palmero. The floor is yours.
Thank you, friend. Thank you, sister. I just want to thank all of you for being here, and thank you so much, Krishna, for this history. It's so important to always acknowledge and remember that there's a reason why things are the way they are today. Whatever it is, whether it's positive or negative, it came from something and it came from somewhere, and it's important to always acknowledge that history. So thank you so much, Krishna, for that. So as some of you may or may not know, I love sending thank you notes. If you are a speaker at one of our programs, I'll send you a cyber thank you note. If you, sometimes if I have your email address, not because I stalked you, but because you gave it to me, I will send out a thank you note with glitter so that when you open it, it's everywhere and you can never, ever get rid of it. It just takes forever to get rid of it. I don't care how many times you mop. Do you know why I send thank you notes? I send them because I want to make sure that anyone who goes above and beyond in their acts, in thinking of me enough to gift me anything, or sometimes just when someone takes time to celebrate me, I send those thank you notes. And so to that, I would like to read a thank you note to my veteran sisters. Thank you to my sisters who heard the call. You risked your life as nurses and disguised as men during the Civil War. You were deployed to Europe during World War I, and you were enlisted to support the war during World War II, even though over 350,000 of you did not have permanent status, and you only made 2/3 of what enlisted men were making. Thank you to those whose influence encouraged President Truman to sign that Women's Armed Services Integration Act, which enabled women to serve as permanent, regular members of the Navy, the Marine Corps, Army, and Air Force. We wouldn't be here without you. We thank you for those sisters who broke the barriers and fought the system and showed our country that our contributions as women and veterans is just as valuable and important as those of our male counterparts. Thank you to those of you who fought to have your spouses treated as equals, because existing in a culture that only accepted men as service member and women as non-service member spouses should never be the norm. Thank you to all my sisters who served in combat zones, but weren't considered combat veterans, despite having risked your lives to support the exact same campaigns as those of our brothers and sisters in World War I, World War II, Korea, where 120,000 of you served, Vietnam, where 11,000 of you served, Iraq and Afghanistan, where over 350,000 sisters were deployed to. Thank you to all my sisters who were our firsts, changing histories, making history, opening the door so that our younger sisters can follow suit. Thanks to all of you that came before us, for your contribution broke through the walls of prejudice, small-mindedness, gender biases that hindered us, because you made it possible for us to be here today. We stand together and side by side because of the work of your hands. Our sisters, whose veteran statuses were born of necessity, hearing an honorable call and choosing to answer it nobly, because no one has ever had to motivate us with a draft, despite the fact that we have always had to fight for the same benefits that were freely given to our brothers. We thank our sisters as we stand beside them, encouraging them, being part of a very exclusive club. For our sisters have come in waves towards a beach throughout history, growing in numbers, in strength, mighty in power, allowing each generation to stand on the shoulders of those that came before us, so that more can come after, doing all that we can so that our younger sisters can have it better than we did. The hope for so many of us who have witnessed our sisters making history is that the next generation of servicewomen can experience their own breakthroughs as we stand shoulder to shoulder. Last but not least, we thank you, sisters, who made the ultimate sacrifice, paid the ultimate price, but did not make it home. The memory of what you did will not be forgotten by those who are still here. And for our sisters who did make it home and found that life was too difficult to deal with and that this world would be better without you, I wish that you would have returned to a place where you could have asked for help, that you would have been heard, where someone could have said thank you for your service, in the hopes that maybe you would still be here today. This world is a different place because your contributions and the beauty of who you were is no longer here for us to experience it. Thank you to my sisters. You are amazing. You are important. You are beautiful. You answered that call. You wore the same uniform. You left your fingerprints in history while being daughters, sisters, mothers, and friends. Too much is given, much is expected. To she who is given more is expected more. May we continue to make history every day. And this is a personal note. As the program coordinator of Women Vets on Point, we just want you to know that we see you, we thank you, and that we're here for you. Reach out to me, reach out to Krishna, reach out to any of us. If you find a woman that needs help or a woman that needs support, that's what we're here for. Thank you. Now, I would like to take a moment to introduce our speaker. Hold on, I gotta look it up. It is Kevin R. Collins and Imelda Fonke of the Community Health Workers, Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. The floor is yours.
Hi, Kevin. We can't hear you right now.
How about now?
Perfect. You were on.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, you all. I'm having technical difficulties over here as well. Good morning, all. My name is Kevin Collins. I am here with my co-worker, Imelda Fonke. Imelda, are you here?
Hi, Kevin. Good morning. I'm here.
There she goes. Let me see if I can share my screen. I also want to say kudos to all of our ladies today for Women's Month. I want to say thank you to all of you women because the work that you ladies do, we men could not do it, especially when it comes to your resiliency. And I've seen so much work done with women that goes unnoticed. So I just want to say, hoorah, semper fi, because I'm a Marine. So, you know, that's how we do things. But again, my name is Kevin Collins. I work for the LA County Department of Mental Health. And what we're going to talk about today is how COVID is affecting us when it comes to our brain and our well-being. Go ahead, Imelda.
So today we're going to learn the effect of COVID-19 on our mental health. We're also going to learn about how the brain functions in general and how it ages. We are going to talk about how COVID impacts the brain, including adults 65 years of age and older, since they are one of the groups who were and are at highest risks of contracting COVID. We are going to talk about how there's a connection between the brain, mental health, and coronavirus. We'll also talk about medical complications as a result of COVID-19. And lastly, we'll be looking at resiliencies.
So when we talk about COVID in the brain, it's actually what we found out now is that since COVID has kicked in, it's actually affected us when it comes to our emotional well-being, where it actually has separated or has had a problem when it comes to our emotions and our brains. And it's really affected our thinking, our emotions, how things are connected, you know, how we're able to have our emotions, to deal with our emotions, and how we're able to just deal with living, period, in this pandemic.
So here we'll be looking at the data variant. So viruses such as the coronavirus 19 create variants as they spread. The newest and most serious is called the data variant. This is some information on the new data variant. Data is currently the predominant strand of the virus in the United States. The data variant is more than 2 times as contagious as previous variants. Data suggests the data variants may cause more severe illness than previous strand in unvaccinated persons. In 2 different studies, one from Canada and one from Scotland, patients infected with the Delta variant were more likely to be hospitalized than patients infected with the original virus strands. Unvaccinated people remain the greatest concern. Individuals infected with the Delta variants, including fully vaccinated people with symptomatic breakthrough infections, can transmit it to others. The greatest risk of transmission is among unvaccinated people who are much more likely to contract and therefore transmit the virus. Fully vaccinated people with Delta variant breakthrough infections can spread the virus to others. However, vaccinated people appear to be infectious for a shorter period of time. COVID-19 and now the new Delta variant has affected our mood. That is worrying that we may contract the virus. It affects our brain and even our way of thinking. What we know is that it is difficult to distinguish which emotional and physical symptoms are due to fear of the virus, and which emotions and physical symptoms are because we have contracted the virus.
So how does depression work when it comes to the effects of COVID-19? Well, as we start looking at our symptoms of depression, we start seeing that we have changes in our sleep, our appetite, pain starts coming in different parts of our body. The sad part about it is that we begin to lose interest in activities that we normally like to do. We have a lack of energy. Our thoughts become very negative. Our concentration is very limited. We have difficulty in making decisions. And then it's a bad part about it is this is one of the things of depression, that people contemplate suicide. And then it's equal when you start looking at the symptoms of COVID, because you start looking at, you have the fevers and chills, cough, sore throat, difficulty breathing, but the fatigue and headache are symptoms that are equivalent to depression. The muscle and body aches, the loss of smell and taste. Then you start talking about your congestion and runny nose, which most people will say that they feel that they have COVID, and sometimes it can just be a runny nose, or it could just be that you have a cold. So sometimes we'll start getting into, we think we have COVID just based off of a simple cold. And then you start running into issues of nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. So are there symptoms of depression that are the same or similar to those of COVID-19? Well, that's what I just spoke of. We do see some that are there, and we can always get confused when it comes to the depression and the symptoms of COVID-19.
So now we'll be looking at anxieties versus effects of COVID-19. Now, these are the symptoms of anxiety versus effects of COVID-19. Who can help me read symptoms of anxiety, symptoms due to COVID-19? Is there anyone that can help us read it?
I can help. Symptoms of anxiety: palpitations, excessive sweating, muscle tension, dizziness, fainting, indigestion, diarrhea, breathing problems, constant worry, irritability, problems with concentration, trouble sleeping, and fatigue.
Thank you very much for helping out. My next question will be, are there symptoms of anxiety that are the same or similar to those of COVID-19? Anyone want to help us with the answer?
That's a simple, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Constant worry, right? Because I think if we're constantly worried about COVID-19 or contracting the virus, then anxiety is like constant worry, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I would say a lot of it, yeah, a lot of it's like the same, you know, it coincides with each other.
Yeah, the more you look at it, you'll begin to see that there are some similarities between the two. I think somebody else has something they want to say as well.
Let's say the muscle tension can be kind of
equated with the muscle and body aches that you feel with COVID-19. And anything like this is going to also cause like trouble sleeping. So you have trouble sleeping with COVID-19 and trouble sleeping with anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Thank you all for your input. We appreciate you.
Thank you for contributing.
So what age group is most known as we look at the age groups? But anyone in between the ages of 30 to 49, then we'll see the percentage of the population in comparison to the percentage of non-missing deaths is a huge gap. So we're starting to see that although 65 years of age is where we find the most people who pass away due to COVID, it has no, as you say, it doesn't matter what age or what color or anything of that nature, COVID will hit you regardless.
So on this slide, we'll be looking at whose mental health is most impacted by COVID-19. As Kevin has said already, older unvaccinated adults. That would be the answer. So people with certain medical conditions such as lung or heart disease, diabetes, or people who are immunocompromised, that is cancer treatment, received organ transplant, people with history of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and low self-esteem.
So what do we know about COVID-19 when it comes to hospitalization? Of the hospitalized patients who are very ill, 96% of them had PTS, what we call post-traumatic stress symptoms, or disorder. And then they are reported that as high as 80% of the people who have symptomatic COVID-19 have mental or cognitive problems during the period of illness. So what we're starting to find out more about it is that it does affect you mentally, especially if you're already suffering, like some of us, because I suffer from PTSD, and when COVID hit, it did affect me a little bit. I can't tell you how much because I'm not a physician, but I do know that I did have problems sleeping. I did have problems concentrating, and I did have irritability symptoms, issues. So it affects everybody differently. It's just that we have to be cognitive of how it is affecting us and find out symptoms and find out ways that we can overcome this problem.
So in this slide, we'll be looking at COVID-19 and the brain. COVID-19 affects the brain directly and indirectly. Directly because of the medical disease that directly affects the brain. Indirectly because of the stress caused by contracting COVID-19. This indirect way affects the regulatory hormone system that is responsible for managing stress. Next slide.
So when we look at the impact, as Imelda just spoke about, we'll break down the directly and indirectly spot of it, because when we talk about the direct part, it affects the systems on how the blood pressure is regulated, how our electrolytes are balanced, our inflammatory system, and our mental health, how it affects it. And then when you look at it indirectly, it starts, it deals with our flight or fight symptoms. It affects our sympathetic nervous system, which helps regulate our body's response to stress.
So here we'll be going over the long-term impact of COVID-19 on mental health. COVID-19 infection is having long-term mental effects on a number of people after they recover from the virus. The symptoms that are reported are elevated heart rate after moving, dizziness, and extreme fatigue after light exercise. And there are other lingering symptoms.
So the human brain. Now we know about our frontal lobe. Our frontal lobe is where we have the ability for our emotions, our attention, our memory. And this is where everything starts at. And when we start looking at how how our brain is connected, and when we begin to deal with this COVID, it will have issues where it will start dealing with how our memory, how we think, how we solve, how we do decision makings, all of the different issues or the connections of the brain will be affected, because we start, dealing with the problems that we had prior to COVID. A lot of us, especially when it comes to veterans, we've had so many other issues that we've had to deal with prior to COVID. Now, when you bring this COVID scare into a person's life, it affects us even worse, and it starts dealing with our brain totally different. And we'll go into a little bit more discussion of that in the next slide.
So here we'll be looking at the concept of the mind. Each part of the brain has a function, like an orchestra. Each instrument has a function. If an instrument fails, the song is not listening perfectly. But it is possible that the other instruments can compensate and finish the song. Damage to an instrument or function of an instrument depends on which disease causes the problem. But something very common in an orchestra and the brain is that without a director or a driver, things do not work well because there is no one directing the song. Just like the orchestra, the director of our brain is called the frontal lobes.
So just like Imelda just spoke of, the brain has a director, which is our frontal lobe. And as we begin to talk about our frontal lobe, this is where all of our emotions come from. This is where the control comes into our behaviors and our emotions. And when we really start looking at the connection of the brain, you have your conscious, your unconscious, and your subconscious parts of the brain. And all of this can be affected just from the simple issues that we're all dealing with.
So we'll be looking at the aging mind. Our brain changes with age like the season of the year. Our tree of life loses leaves with age. Some of these changes are normal.
So as we talk about the change that occurs, we start talking about, if you look at this particular part of the brain, we have what is called the gray matter, or which is the bark. And that's usually the loss of volume that it's a normal piece where we usually lose during our adulthood as we age. The white matter is the connection. And as time comes on, it begins to decline abruptly. And then you have the cerebral cortex, where as we begin to get into our middle age, where I'm over half a century now, that cerebral cortex begins to lose its weight. So as a result, it affects our cognitive functions, where we start thinking about our attention, our memory, our language, our perception, our decision-making, and our problem solving.
Now we'll be looking at COVID-19 and the brain medical complication as a result of COVID-19. The medical complications are neurodegenerative disease called delirium or dementia. Then there is also vascular changes, inflammation and lack of oxygen, or in other words, called hypoxia. Again, these are medical complications due to COVID-19 and the Delta variant.
So what's delirium? Well, delirium is when our level of consciousness or awareness is temporarily altered. And this resolves when the medical conditions improves. Most of our symptoms and behavior are, as we talked about earlier, the reduced concentration, memory problems. We become disorganized when we start thinking or talking to other people. Between day and night, we become disoriented and confused. The sad part is you start having problems when it comes to writing, drawing, or finding words, crossword puzzles, or even when you look in dictionaries or when you start reading. Depression kicks in, hallucinations, you have nervousness, anxiety, and irritability. And then a lot of the causes that they find are substance abuse. When you have or you're going through the withdrawals of whatever drugs that you are having a withdrawal from. The medications are a huge thing. Our doctors give us medications, and a lot of them have side effects. I know sometimes we look at TV, and I look at that stuff on TV, and I'm scared to even think about looking at any of those drugs because you have more problems with the side effects than you do with your original problem. And then you also have the infections, like your respiratory infections due to the COVID, or you have a urinary tract infection.
So yeah, we'll be taking a look at dementia. Can someone help us read the slide, please?
I'll read it.
Fine.
Dementia is a disease where the person loses extremely important cognitive skills that interfere with daily life. Symptoms and behaviors: reduced concentration, memory problems, disorientation and confusion between day and night, difficulty communicating, writing, drawing, or finding words, nervousness, anxiety, depression, irritability, difficulty reasoning or solving problems, difficulty handling complex tasks, difficulty with coordination and motor functions, hallucinations.
Thank you very much. As we have heard Kevin talked on delirium and we've read on dementia, we can see that delirium and dementia have similar symptoms, right? So it can be difficult to tell them apart. Delirium begins suddenly and can last for hours, weeks, or months, and goes away when the condition is resolved. On the other hand, dementia develops slowly. Symptoms are stable and can last for months or years. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia.
So when we talk about dementia, when it comes to COVID-19, it can be accelerated because of COVID-19, because of the infection that we have that's caused by COVID-19. Also the medical treatment for COVID-19. And then since we've all had this where we can't go out and be around others, the isolation has a big toll when it comes to accelerating dementia.
So we'll be looking at dementia with COVID-19. These are some of the statistics that we got. The presence of diabetes increases the risk of developing Alzheimer's by 54%, right? People over 65 are more affected by COVID-19. COVID-19 disease and its treatment puts people with Alzheimer's at risk of deteriorating faster. Due to these statistics, there's a significant increase of people suffering from dementia, as we can see from the slide.
So as we see here with this particular picture, you'll start seeing that as time goes on, diseases such as Alzheimer's deteriorates the brains faster. So when you look at the leaves here, this is just a picture of what happens to the brain as time goes on a normal basis, as we saw earlier. And then if you look here, even with the yellow tree, you see a little bit more leaves missing as time goes on. And then with the red one, it's almost, you can see the sky in the back of the brain.
So now what can we do to combat the wave of dementia in older adults? We need to be more attentive to our loved ones. We need to spend time with them, ensuring safety precautions, call them on the phone, listen to music from their youth, teach them how to use phone or Zoom. We need to exercise with them, as simple as stretching in their chair. If they can go for a walk with their masks, take them for a walk, even if it's in the home or in their backyard or patio. Basically, being creative to keep our mind and brain active.
So what do we talk about when we talk about the vascular changes? Well, it's a medical condition that has to deal with the blood system, how our blood passes through our body, the transportation that it goes from the brain from the lungs to the heart, how the blood actually carries our oxygen and all the nutrients that the body and the brain needs. So when we start talking about vascular and medical conditions, we have three of them here, which are diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. These medical conditions are considered underlying health conditions that could predispose patients to a worse outcome if affected by the virus.
So let's take a look at inflammation and lack of oxygen, also called hypoxia. The COVID-19 Delta virus also impacts our brain and on our mental health through inflammation and lack of oxygen. What we know with COVID-19 Delta variant is that The infection can cause inflammation in our brain. Inflammation comes when there is a virus or infection and the body activates the immune system to kill the virus. Inflammation affects the brain connection we spoke about earlier. Lack of oxygen, also called hypoxia, with COVID-19 data variant also comes with breathing problems. We already mentioned that blood is very important because it carries oxygen to the brain and the rest of the body. If little oxygen reaches the brain, our brain does not function well, and specifically the part of the brain in the frontal lobes responsible for memory and emotions.
So in conclusion, it's important to recognize that the impact of COVID-19, the Delta variant, and any of these other variants that are coming down the pipeline, they can affect us emotionally, and we don't even contract the virus. It's just that, you know, we have to deal with society, what society is telling us. And I'll say it this way, please don't listen to somebody that you know that got a C in health trying to tell you about this COVID virus, because I tell you right now, that's going to be an issue for you trying to listen to that person. And then it's very important too as well. You know, we learned about these things before as we were children. Get out and exercise. It's very important that you just get out in front of your house and walk around. Socialize. I mean, we lost this society as a whole. We've lost talking to each other. And we need to get back to that, because I'm a 70s baby and I'm used to walking around talking to people saying hi, hello. We've lost that as a society. And that's something that we need to get back into. We need to kick racism out the way and start becoming humans. So a lot of the things that we're dealing with in this country can affect us considerably, not even contracting the virus of COVID. So I think if we start eliminating a lot of these isms that we have in our society and just deal with this COVID-19, I think the outcome will be a whole lot better.
So now that we've listened to the effects of COVID-19 in our brain, do we still have hope? Do we still see a light at the end of the tunnel? Even as we see a light at the end of the tunnel, with more people vaccinated and restriction lifting, a new study finds that mental health issues haven't yet followed suit. And as a community,
So we're almost done, y'all. Know y'all got to get out of here at 11. So what is resilience? It's the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. Most of us here, I'm not sure, but I know a lot of us here are military. And resiliency is something that it's in our blood. And that's something that we need to actually, you know, teach everyone else about, is being resilient, not allowing these things to bring you down, because if you do, then you're going to be like that, like a rock on the ground, just standing there. But what we need to learn how to do is to come out of the boulders, come out of the mess, and start to grow and show our beautiful leaves that we have, which is called our human skin and our minds and our thoughts, and come out of this and be a better people after this.
As Kevin said, how do we be resilience? Like building a muscle, increasing resilience takes time and intentionality. How do we do this? It's through practicing self-care, recognizing values and purposes, embrace healthy thoughts, and having social and family bonds.
Self-care, eating right. Don't eat McDonald's and all this fast food stuff. Start cooking at home. Start eating some vegetables. Drink a lot of water. It's very important. And I hate to say it this way, but if you have the yellow urine, you need to start drinking more water, because that's unhealthy. Sleep more. Don't go to bed at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night and try and wake back up at 4. That's when we was younger. It's time to start getting more sleep. You know, let your body recover. And then you have to have values and purpose. Helping others. It's simple, man. Just being there for somebody. Somebody needs somebody. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's real good to sometimes take those 2 ears and listen twice as much as you do before you open up your mouth. and then have opportunities for self-discovery. Find yourself. Know who you are. Don't try and find out who your next door neighbor is if you don't know who you are. Really find out who you are and improve on yourself. And I guarantee you, once you find out who you are, the world will become a better place.
So how do we embrace healthy thoughts and social and family bonds? First, we keep things in perspective. How we think can play a significant part in how we feel and how resilient we are when faced with obstacles. Next is to accept change. Accept that changes is a part of life. Setting goals or ideals may no longer be attainable as a result of adverse situation in our life. Accepting circumstances that cannot be changed can help us focus on circumstances that we can alter. The third thing we can do is to maintain a hopeful outlook. An optimistic outlook empowers us to expect that good things will happen to us. Try visualizing what you want rather than worrying about what you fear. Along the way, note any subtle ways in which you start to feel better as you deal with difficult situations. Next, learn from your past by looking back at who or what was helpful in previous times of distress. You may discover how you can respond effectively to new difficult situations. Remind yourself of where you've been able to find strength and ask yourself what you've learned from those experiences.
So here we are with some mental health resources for you all. I told you we were almost done. Here, I'll share this with Amy to share with you all. But this is our DMH helpline. It's 1-800-854-7771. If you're having any emotional concerns, you need somebody to talk to, and nobody's around your house that you can talk to, please call this number because we want you to know that you're very important. You may not think you're important because of how people treat you, but I'm going to tell you you're very important because obviously you're only a percentage of the person that you're going to be. So right now, what you don't know that you are, you need to find out what you're going to be because we need you in this world. Everybody is needed in this world. You wouldn't be here if you were not needed. So please, please, I beg you, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling suicidal, if you're having problems, call this 1-800 number, call your family members, call somebody. Don't sit there in a rut and take this stuff by yourself because you're not in this world alone. Just walk outside. You're going to see more people. That means you're not here alone. We're here all this together. Just find the right ears and want to listen. Now, at this time, we leave it open for you all. If y'all have any questions, comments, you want to argue, you want to get mad at something, you want to cuss me out because my head is too big or something or whatever, you know, it's all, the floor is open to you all. Oh, and let me share something with y'all real quick. This is our QR code. And what we ask you to do is, before you start cussing me out, the QR code right here is for you to say, hey, we like it, we don't like it. The big head guy talked too much, however y'all want to put it. Just, you know, all we want you to do is just fill out the QR code and just let us know how we're doing because with anything, it needs improvement. And this is human, we're human. So it's always open room and door for improvement. So we thank you all. But yeah, just anybody have any questions or comments? Jen, go ahead, Jen.
Hi, Mr. Collins. Thank you so much to you and your colleague for presenting an informative presentation and ending it with what I was really hoping to hear, which is our health and wellness when it comes to nutrition and hydration. So I just want to thank you for adding that as the cherry on top at the end. And just to encourage you all that it is all about our choices, right? Whether we've had COVID, whether we hadn't, you know, outside of that, like just how it correlates with mental health, hydration, and nutrition is definitely a huge, you know, foundation to our lives, like moving forward. So if I can leave you all with one tip, it's called the stop, challenge, and choose. So whenever you do want to like go through a drive-through because you didn't plan for a meal prep, or you want to eat that cookie or that donut, you know, because sugar and sodium is a whole nother virus of its own, right? A whole other addiction. But yeah, stop, challenge, and choose your health over, sickness, over depression. Nutrition has a direct correlation with mental health. And then you add COVID, that's a whole another dragon to bring down. But thank you for adding that. So stop, challenge, and choose, guys, and choose health, happiness, and health and happiness and peace. Thank you, guys, all.
Yeah, Brandy has a feedback to give. Is she ready?
It wasn't so much feedback, although I do want to thank you for the information, because I have a lot of the conditions that you spoke about and how COVID relates to that. And so it really resonates with me. And having seen it and seeing, makes me know that it wasn't just in my head, the anxiety and the basically becoming a hoarder by living only in my bed for a year because of my fears. And so knowing I'm not alone and seeing the actual physical reminders of your resilience and self-cares, it helps to remind the brain, I guess, that which we would have intuitively thought, but didn't give credence to. So for that, I want to thank you guys so much. And I noticed that you had mentioned, join the group or something, socializing, etc. And so I just wanted to kind of make a quick offer to you guys, because I perform as a reenactor at the Renaissance Fair out at the Santa Fe Dam that opens up next weekend, or next month, excuse me. I'll put my email in the chat, and if anyone wants, I generally have access to better pricing so that you guys can come on out, maybe have a group day and come out.
Yeah, leave that info, Brandy, because I love to come out there to be around other folk. And you see, I like to run my mouth a lot, so it's not a problem for me to get out there and just run my mouth all day long. So yeah, please invite me.
Thank you very much, Brandy, for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so very much. I know there's some questions coming in the chat. If you're looking to join a breakout room, they are open. You are able to assign yourself to the working group of your choosing. You just go to the bottom of your page, those three dots that say more. You should be able to select onto there and find the breakout room. And then again, wanted to say thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you both so much for being here. It has been a wonderful experience. I think this hits home for a lot of us, because I think a lot of people on this call have either been exposed to COVID themselves or know of a loved one who has had COVID. It's been 2 years in the making, and it's important to find out how that's going to affect us, what we're looking at. So again, thank you both for taking the time to be here, Imelda. And yeah, with that being said, that's the conclusion of our main meeting, and now we're opening it up to our breakout rooms. And with that, Imelda, Kevin, I'd like to, if that's okay, if you can send me the slides, we'd love to be able to share that with our members in our follow-up email.
I'm going to send it to you in about 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, while you're all moving on to your respective working groups, I did want to make the announcement on behalf of Robert Alvarez. The Catherine Barger's Tribute to Veterans event is going to be taking place on May 28th at Arcadia Park. So be on the lookout for the exhibitor registration through Eventbrite to open up soon.